Across the natural world, nearly every bird shares the same mission when breeding season arrives: to give the next generation the best possible chance to survive. For weeks, they gather twigs, grass, moss, and plant fibers, carefully weaving them into nests that can protect their fragile eggs from predators and the elements. Building a nest isn't just instinct, it's one of the greatest investments a bird will ever make. Some species are master architects. The weaver bird, for example, constructs intricate hanging nests with remarkable precision, creating structures so sophisticated that they seem almost engineered. Others rely on completely different techniques. Tailor birds stitch leaves together using spider silk, producing lightweight shelters that are both flexible and surprisingly strong. Every nest demands an enormous amount of energy. Parents sacrifice valuable time searching for materials instead of food. They expose themselves to predators, endure exhaustion, and dedicate weeks of effort, all for offspring that have yet to hatch. But hidden among thousands of bird species is one that plays by an entirely different set of rules: the Asian Koel. Unlike most birds, it never builds a nest of its own. It doesn't incubate its eggs, and it never raises its own chicks. Instead, it relies on one of evolution's most extraordinary and controversial strategies: a reproductive tactic known as brood parasitism. Rather than caring for its own young, the female Asian Koel secretly lays her eggs inside the nest of another bird. Then she disappears, leaving every parental responsibility to an unsuspecting foster parent. But the deception doesn't end there. Once the chick hatches, its arrival can become a deadly turning point for the nest's rightful occupants. Everything begins with the breeding season. On the island of Java, Asian Koels typically breed around October. Across other parts of Indonesia, breeding seasons can vary from February through mid-year, depending on local climate and food availability. As reproductive hormones begin to rise, female koels start searching for the perfect opportunity to reproduce. But success doesn't depend on strength. It depends on patience, precision, and flawless timing, because a single mistake could cost an entire generation. For the Asian Koel, laying an egg is only the final step. The real work begins long before that. Success doesn't come from speed or strength. It comes from patience. For days, sometimes even weeks, a female Asian Koel quietly watches from the shadows. Hidden among dense foliage, she remains almost completely motionless. She doesn't sing. She doesn't reveal herself. She simply observes. Every movement below becomes valuable information. Her targets are never chosen at random. Instead, she focuses on smaller bird species known for being attentive parents, birds that carefully incubate their eggs and tirelessly feed their chicks. But finding a nest isn't enough. She needs to understand its owners, every departure, every return, every feeding trip. She studies them all. Gradually, she builds a complete picture of their daily routine. She learns exactly when the nest will be left unattended, how far the parents travel, and, most importantly, how long they stay away. That tiny window of opportunity is all she needs. Sometimes the nest is empty for less than a minute. For most animals, that's barely enough time to react. For the Asian Koel, it's the moment she's been waiting for. Without warning, she glides silently through the canopy. Within seconds, she lands on the edge of the nest. Everything that follows happens with astonishing speed. Before laying her own egg, she often removes one of the host's eggs. Depending on the situation, she may carry it away, break it, or eat it. This isn't random behavior. If the total number of eggs suddenly increased, the host bird would be far more likely to notice that something was wrong. Replacing one egg instead of adding another makes the deception far more convincing. Once her own egg is safely in place, the female wastes no time. She launches back into the forest. The entire operation is often completed in less than 30 seconds. By the time the rightful owners return, everything appears perfectly normal. Their nest looks untouched. Their eggs seem exactly where they left them. Yet hidden among them lies a biological time bomb, a single egg that doesn't belong. Of course, the deception doesn't always succeed. Many birds are surprisingly good at recognizing their own eggs. A slight difference in color, a different pattern of speckles, even a subtle change in size can trigger suspicion. Some host birds immediately remove the foreign egg. Others abandon the nest entirely and start over somewhere else, which raises an obvious question. If host birds are capable of spotting an intruder, how does the Asian Koel fool them so often? The answer lies in one of the most remarkable evolutionary adaptations ever discovered in birds. Over millions of years, the Asian Koel has evolved eggs that closely resemble those of its preferred hosts. It's an evolutionary arms race, one that has been unfolding for countless generations. And the next chapter of this story reveals just how far evolution is willing to go in the pursuit of survival. Getting an egg into the nest is only half the battle. The real challenge begins after the female Asian Koel has flown away. If the host bird realizes that one of the eggs isn't its own, the entire plan collapses. The foreign egg may be thrown out, broken, or the nest itself may be abandoned altogether. So how has the Asian Koel managed to fool other birds for millions of years? The answer is evolution, but not the kind most people imagine. This isn't a story of brute strength or sharper claws. It's a story of deception refined over countless generations. Scientists have discovered that female brood parasites don't produce identical eggs. Instead, different genetic lineages specialize in targeting different host species. Each lineage inherits eggs with colors, markings, and patterns that closely resemble those of its preferred host. It's as if evolution has created multiple master forgers within a single species. A female that has evolved to parasitize one particular bird will consistently lay eggs that mimic that bird's eggs. Another female targeting a different host may produce eggs with an entirely different appearance. Every detail matters: the background color, the speckling, the shape, even subtle variations in brightness. Natural selection has been fine-tuning these characteristics for countless generations, making the deception increasingly difficult to detect. But appearance alone isn't enough. There's another obstacle: timing. Even a perfectly disguised egg becomes useless if it hatches too late. Imagine arriving at a dinner party after everyone has already eaten. The opportunity is gone. For the Asian Koel, the race begins before the chick is even born. Its egg must hatch before the host's chicks. Research has shown that brood parasitic birds often gain a critical developmental advantage during incubation. In many cases, the embryo begins developing slightly earlier inside the mother's body, before the egg is laid. Combined with other physiological adaptations, this head start allows the chick to emerge ahead of its nestmates. The difference may be only a single day. To us, 24 hours seems insignificant. But inside a crowded nest, one day can determine who survives and who never gets the chance. That tiny advantage changes everything. When the Asian Koel chick finally breaks through its shell, the host's eggs are often still intact. The nest belongs to it alone. Its rivals haven't even entered the world yet. And what happens next is one of the most astonishing and unsettling behaviors ever documented in the bird kingdom. A blind, featherless chick, barely minutes old, will begin carrying out a task it has never been taught, a behavior written not by experience, but by millions of years of evolution. A few days later, the egg finally begins to crack. Tiny fractures spread across the shell. Then, slowly, a chick forces its way into the world. At first glance, it appears completely helpless. Its skin is pink and nearly featherless. Its eyes remain tightly shut. It cannot fly. It cannot see. It has never even looked at the world around it. Nothing about its appearance suggests what it is about to do. Yet hidden inside this fragile body is one of nature's most extraordinary instincts. The chick doesn't need parents to teach it. It has never watched another Asian Koel. No one demonstrates what comes next. Everything it does is programmed by millions of years of evolution. Within hours of hatching, the chick begins to move, slowly, clumsily. It crawls across the floor of the nest. To an observer, the movements seem random, but they are anything but. The chick is searching. Along its back is a highly sensitive area that reacts to touch. The moment it feels something rounded, an egg, or sometimes even another newly hatched chick, an instinctive sequence is triggered. Without hesitation, it wriggles beneath its rival. Using its back like a cradle, it carefully lifts the egg upward. The effort is enormous. Its muscles are barely developed. Its neck is weak. Its eyes are still sealed shut. Yet somehow, it continues pushing forward. Inch by inch, it struggles toward the edge of the nest. Finally, after an exhausting climb, it reaches the rim. With one sudden movement, the egg tumbles over the side. If another chick is already hatched, the outcome is often the same. One by one, every potential competitor is removed from the nest, again and again, until nothing remains except the parasite itself. It is one of the most astonishing examples of instinct ever documented in the animal kingdom. The chick isn't acting out of anger. It isn't capable of cruelty. It doesn't understand what it's doing. It is simply following a survival program written into its nervous system long before it was born. From an evolutionary perspective, the strategy is brutally effective. Food inside a nest is limited. If several chicks compete for the same meals, none may receive enough to grow. But by becoming the sole occupant, the young parasite guarantees that every insect, every caterpillar, every mouthful of food brought back by the foster parents will belong to it alone. By the time the host parents return, the nest has been transformed. The eggs they spent days protecting are gone. Their own chicks have vanished. And sitting quietly in the center of the nest is a single survivor, a chick they believe is their own. But the greatest deception has only just begun, because the foster parents are about to devote every ounce of their energy to raising the very bird that replaced their family. With every rival gone, the young Asian Koel now has the nest entirely to itself. Its next challenge is simple: grow, and grow fast. To do that, it needs an enormous amount of food. This is where the story takes its most heartbreaking turn. Before long, the host parents return, carrying caterpillars, crickets, spiders, and other insects gathered from the surrounding forest. They land on the edge of the nest, just as they have countless times before. But everything has changed. Their own chicks are gone. Only one remains, a chick that isn't theirs, and yet they never realize it. Instead, something far more powerful than recognition takes over: instinct. The moment the chick throws back its head and opens its mouth, the foster parents respond automatically. They don't question what they see. They don't compare it to the chicks that once filled the nest. Their brains react to a simple biological signal. A hungry chick needs food. For millions of years, this instinct has helped countless bird species keep their young alive. But in this nest, that same instinct is being exploited. The young Asian Koel is remarkably effective at triggering a feeding response. Its bright, gaping mouth acts like a visual beacon. Its relentless begging calls demand constant attention. Every movement tells the foster parents exactly what evolution has trained them to respond to. Feed me now. And they obey, again and again. From sunrise until dusk, the foster parents work almost without rest. They search through leaves, they comb tree bark, they chase insects through the undergrowth. Every successful hunt ends the same way. Another meal disappears into the mouth of a chick that shares none of their genes. As the days pass, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. The young Asian Koel grows at an astonishing rate. Soon it towers over the tiny bird struggling to feed it. The contrast is almost surreal. A small songbird stands on the edge of the nest, stretching upward to feed a chick that is larger than itself. To us, the scene seems absurd, almost unbelievable. But to the foster parents, nothing is unusual. Their instinct tells them only one thing: keep feeding, keep protecting, keep caring. From an evolutionary perspective, this strategy is incredibly successful. The female Asian Koel never has to build a nest. She never incubates her eggs. She never spends weeks searching for food to raise her young. Instead, another species unknowingly carries the entire burden. This allows her to invest more energy into producing additional offspring during the breeding season. It's a strategy that has enabled brood parasites to survive for millions of years. But there is another side to this story, one that is often overlooked. The young Asian Koel will grow up without ever meeting its biological parents. It will never learn from them, never recognize them, never receive protection or guidance from the birds that brought it into the world. Its entire life begins in the care of strangers, raised by parents who never realize they've been caring for someone else's child all along. Eventually, the young Asian Koel reaches adulthood. Its feathers are fully grown. Its wings are strong enough to carry it across the forest canopy. After weeks of being fed and protected by its foster parents, the time finally comes to leave the nest behind. There is no farewell, no family bond, no reunion with the mother that laid the egg. In fact, the young bird will almost certainly never know who its biological parents were. Its life began in someone else's home, and that's where its story was written. For the foster parents, the ending is equally bittersweet. They devoted countless hours to feeding, protecting, and raising a chick that wasn't their own. When it finally flies away, their role is over. They never discover the truth. They never realize that their own offspring disappeared long ago. From a human perspective, it seems tragically unfair. But nature isn't guided by fairness. It is guided by survival. And in that regard, the Asian Koel is extraordinarily successful. What makes its story even more remarkable is this. No adult Asian Koel ever teaches its young how to become a brood parasite. There are no lessons, no demonstrations, no parents showing their chicks which nest to target or when to strike. Every behavior, from choosing a host to laying an egg at precisely the right moment, is instinctive. It is encoded deep within the bird's biology. When the young koel reaches breeding age, something remarkable happens without ever seeing another bird perform the act. It begins searching for host nests. It watches, it waits, it memorizes routines, and when the opportunity arrives, it repeats the same strategy that countless generations before it have perfected, not because it remembers, not because it learned, but because evolution has already written the script. For millions of years, this cycle has continued uninterrupted. One generation follows another, the same deception, the same survival strategy, again and again, across forests, woodlands, and villages throughout Asia. It is a powerful reminder that in nature, inheritance is not limited to genes that shape the body. Sometimes, evolution also preserves behaviors so precisely that they appear almost like memories passed from one generation to the next. Yet the story of the Asian Koel doesn't end with biology, because for centuries, its haunting call has echoed through forests and villages alike. And wherever that voice is heard, legends are never far behind. Long before scientists understood the Asian Koel's remarkable breeding strategy, people had already given the bird a very different identity. Not because of the way it looked, but because of the sound it made. Its call is unmistakable, a clear, repetitive cry that echoes through forests, gardens, and villages, often during the quiet hours of early morning or just before dusk. For biologists, the explanation is straightforward. The call is a form of communication. It helps establish territory, attract mates, and signal the bird's presence during the breeding season. But for generations of people living close to nature, the sound carried a different meaning. Across many parts of Asia, the Asian Koel became woven into local folklore. In some Indonesian communities, hearing its call near a home was believed to be a sign that significant news, or even misfortune, might soon follow. Elsewhere, its haunting voice was associated with mystery, change, or unseen spiritual forces. These beliefs were passed down through stories told from one generation to the next. It's important to understand that these traditions belong to cultural history, not scientific evidence. To date, there is no research showing that the Asian Koel can predict death, disasters, or human destiny. Yet the existence of these legends reveals something fascinating about human nature. For thousands of years, people searched for meaning in the sounds of the natural world. Before modern science could explain animal behavior, unusual calls often became symbols of hidden messages or supernatural events. The Asian Koel was never the only animal surrounded by such beliefs. Owls, ravens, wolves, even cicadas. Many species have inspired myths simply because their voices stirred curiosity or fear. Today, science tells a different story. The call of the Asian Koel is not a warning from another world. It is the voice of a bird carrying out the same ancient cycle it has followed for millions of years. A call shaped by evolution, not by superstition. And perhaps that makes it even more extraordinary. Because the deeper we study nature, the more we realize that reality is often just as fascinating as the legends it once inspired. The story of the Asian Koel challenges the way we think about the natural world. As humans, we often judge behavior through the lens of morality. We admire loyalty. We value honesty. We celebrate sacrifice. But nature follows a very different set of rules. There is no concept of fairness, no reward for kindness, no punishment for deception. Only one question matters. Does it improve the chances of survival? For the Asian Koel, the answer is yes. Its extraordinary breeding strategy has allowed the species to thrive for millions of years. Yet the story doesn't end with the parasite alone. Host birds have been evolving too. Some have become better at recognizing foreign eggs. Others have learned to defend their nests more aggressively or abandon suspicious clutches altogether. Every adaptation by one species creates new pressure on the other. Scientists call this an evolutionary arms race, a continuous cycle in which each side evolves new strategies in response to the other. Neither side ever wins completely. Neither side ever truly loses. Evolution simply keeps moving forward. The Asian Koel is not evil. The host birds are not foolish. Each is doing exactly what millions of years of natural selection have shaped them to do. And perhaps that is the most remarkable lesson of all. Nature doesn't choose sides. It doesn't follow human values. It rewards only what works. So the next time you hear the unmistakable call of an Asian Koel drifting through the trees, you may hear more than just another bird. You may be listening to the echo of one of evolution's most extraordinary survival strategies. A story written not by intention, but by millions of years of adaptation, one generation at a time.